Hello guys, in this tutorial we want to speak about a real basic principle of programming or coding, and this is always when we do a program we want to solve some problems, and a basic principle for solving problems is to divide these big problems we have in the beginning in smaller problems, and for this we use functions, and exactly this we want to discuss today. So first, what is a function? A function is something like this, like here print line and calculation. So print line is the function, and this function someone thought about. I want to print something in the terminal, and thought and integrated the code so that we see in the end in the terminal something and we can use it in a comfortable way. And here we have an argument that means we can give the function something what it should print them. So this works like this. If we run this, .jl, because Julia here before, Julia functions.jl, and then we see it gets printed. Don't wonder, this I prepared especially for this lesson. It's a really simple program, and what we will demonstrate or will practice what is the use of functions. What we have here always some calculation, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 3, that's not important, that can be anything you want. And then we have always here the print calculation done. We have this in 2 lines just for overview. Here don't wondering or don't be surprised. This \n just means to add a new line. This makes here this new line here, so that we have some space in between. And on this example I want to explain you what's the use of functions. And the first big thing is, through the functions we can easily use the function. For example, this print line has some code behind, and this is a large number of code which communicates with our PC, and in the end displays here the calculation done on the terminal, and that we can easily reuse without typing all this complete code. For example, what is better in this example is that we have here print line calculation done 3 times here. It's always the same and we always typed it. So we have a lot of repetition in this code, which makes this code bad to understand. And yeah, also for debugging, it's not easy to understand the code. You have a lot to read, you have also a lot to write. And this we will solve by put this 2 lines exactly in a function and then use this function to make the code easier to understand. The second big reason is, especially in Julia, when you have seen already my video, why is Julia the future of programming, then you know it already. Function can improve the performance a lot. That's why in the beginning, first I want to explain dynamic languages means we don't define the data types. Julia can figure it out by itself. This means that it takes some time to figuring out what data type it is. And this Julia is always doing at the first time it's running. For example, the first time we use a function, and then when we repeat it, when we do it next time, it's super fast because Julia remembers which data type it is and doesn't have to figure out it again. So it means the more functions we use, the faster our program gets in Julia. If you want to have more information, watch my video why Julia is the programming language of the future. But now let's start. When we want to define a function, then the syntax in Julia is always function. Then we give the function a name. That can be anything what we want. In our case, we just call it calc done, for example. Then we open it here, and that's how we define a function. Then for showing that the function has an end, is we just write here an end. That's how it works in Julia. For a better overview or for better understanding of the code, we intend this here. So we have here some space, 1 tab. And now we just take here this code, what should be done always, and put it in the function. Here. And now when we run this here, we can just call the function just by typing it in, calc done. here also calc done, and here also calc done. And now if we run the program here, just by Julia functions.jl, it prints exactly the same. Because what it does is always, when here this line is there, it goes back, looks what it should do here, and prints it. And by doing this, our code gets smaller, or better to understand, because we have only one line instead of 2 lines. Maybe in this example, it's not so much difference, but if you think about real big programs, then it can make a real big difference if your program is fast and easy to understand or not. It's also more easier for you now to see, yeah, always when I do this here instead of reading all the lines and understanding the code by your own. And now one important thing is this function, if we put it in the end and run it now, it will not work because we call it here, but here the PC doesn't know what it should do when it's here, because first here it's learning it. That means we have to define always the functions before we use them. For example, in the beginning. Or there is also a small trick to not have this there all. We just use this here, put it here in the end. Our main program we write in a function called main. Here we end our main program. And this here we should intend all one just for reading purpose. And now what we can do now, we just call our main program here in the end. And if we do this, then it will work. Because here it learns everything, what it means, and then we call it here in the end. That is just a small trick that you can define the function afterwards. And what else can we now do with the function? We can in the function here giving a name. That means we can give the function arguments. If we don't want to give always here calculation done, for example, we can here also put in an argument, for example here message. That is just a variable, and this message then we can print here. And now I can write in what I want. I can here do calculate done by just writing message, not message of course, by writing the real message, for example here hello world, and here have a nice day. And if we run this now, then it prints us always what we put in here as input, just because we gave it here in the variable message, and this is used here in the code and then gets used again. And these are the basics of functions. If you have some questions for it, put in the comments. Subscribe my channel to not miss the next tutorial. And in the next tutorial we will use these functions to make some data type casts. So we shift data types from one point to the other. For example, from a string to a float. That we will do in the next point. See you. Bye.